to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Aransas Pass, October 15, 2018, at 6 p.m. Let's all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Father, for this day. I want to thank you, my Father, for the country that we live in, my Father, the liberties that we sometimes take for granted, my Father. We don't realize how blessed we are to live in the country that we live. We ask, my Father, that you be with us as City Council, that we make the right choices, decisions for the City of Aransas Pass. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we're going to go to presentations and proclamations. And we're going to go to Roxanne, because the first one, the flight was canceled or something.
That's correct. Flight was canceled.
So there you go.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Roxanne Paez-Cotroneo. I am the Aransas Pass City Attorney. And tonight I want to give you an update on what has happened with vacant and substandard structures in our city. The last time we met in open session to discuss substandard structures was just about a month ago. It was August the 28th, 2018. And if you'll recall, on that date, we showed you some pictures of what some of the most aggressively dangerous commercial vacant structures in our town. Well, tonight I want to refresh your memory about those and give you an update. So let's go ahead. You will remember in that discussion a month ago, we talked about how vacant structures can have serious costs and implications to municipal budgets. Remember, we talked about how crime costs could double, how mowing and cleaning out of the city's budget for those lots can substantially increase, not to mention lower property values for not only the property that the substandard property exists on, but for the surrounding property in the neighborhood. And we told you that we were going to go across town and take a look, and we noticed that we both have, for lack of a better discrimination state, black structures and gray structures. And if you'll turn the slide, we'll have black structures meant that they were structures that were substantially in bad shape. They needed to go. Anyone looking at it would know you could not repair those. The gray structures were more of properties where we thought there could be some hope. Depending on how much money someone wants to expend on that property, it could be brought back to life. And so for purposes of last month's presentation and tonight's presentation, we're only going to be talking about the block structures, the one where if you look at it, you know it's got to go. We also met at that last meeting. We talked about the different methods by which we could address demolishing these substandard structures. One of the first methods we talked about was a meet and greet, and that's where your city attorney, your building official, and code enforcement and other city staff members would sit down after they've contacted the property owners, lien holders, and mortgagees and talk to them and say, why is your property in this condition, and what as a city can we do to help you? You liked that method. You thought it was a good method to start with, and we did, and we will show you what the results are. You'll remember that another method is issuing notices of violations and citations. Yet a third method is our Building and Standards Commission. We have not met with the Building and Standards Commission yet, but rest assured we do have an academy ready to start training them on what their authorities are. And yet our last method was to actually file a civil lawsuit, and we all understood that filing a civil lawsuit is a method, but it can be an expensive method, and we would much rather have those owners spend the money on the property than having to pay for their lawyers to defend the fact that they have a substandard structure. So here we go. Exciting news, our 1 month progress report. Gary, there's going to be the next structure that comes up is 124 Allen Boulevard. You'll remember Allen Boulevard is the Aransas Pass Marineways. They actually have 2 different structures on their property that we were concerned about. You'll see at the very top, that was the before, and there is the after. It's gone. Thank you, Aransas Pass Marineways, for complying. There was a second and a third structure on the same property. You'll see on the left-hand side, the before picture, that structure needed to be demolished. You'll see below it has been demolished. The structure that's on the right-hand side can be rehabilitated. and it is being repaired. Aransas Pass Marineways has told us they have bought the supplies to repair and that they are in the process of doing that. We expect the repairs to be done within the next 3 months. Success at 124 Allen Boulevard. Congratulations. And now let's move on to the next property, 161 South Arch. Look at that before, same angle on the after. 1109 South Commercial, you see the before, you see the after. 1212 Highway 35 North, you see the before, and now you see the after. We met with that property owner, the same property owner who owned that structure and demolished it. We met with him today. He told us it cost him $4,000 to get that down. And if we'll turn to the next slide, there is one of his properties left. And he believes that he can work with the building official to figure out a way to rehab that property and make it a legal use within the city. It used to be a restaurant, and the owner actually owns Pep's Restaurant in Portland now. And so when he came in today, he was saddened about his restaurant. He doesn't think that he will be able to create a restaurant there ever again. He doesn't see that in his future, but he does want to make sure that that he finds a good use for it as it remains in his name with a bank lien on it. In fact, we want to thank the bank. The bank was sent notice by us, and the bank is the one who helped us get a hold of the owner. So it pays to notify owners, lien holders, and mortgagees. So we believe that we're going to have something useful there for the city, and it's productive, and hopefully the next 3 months as well. 1052 South Rife, you'll remember that one. That was actually owned by the taxing entities. It was a struck-off property owned to the taxing entities. We've gone through the legal processes to get all the taxing entities to agree that that should be demolished. We have obtained bids. There is asbestos in it, so we're in the process of getting the asbestos removed and the property demolished. The first bid that came in was a little high. It was at $30,000 to get it removed and demolished. The asbestos removed and demolished. So we do have the building official looking for other bids to see if we can get a much lower price, but we expect that to be down within the next month's progress report. And the other great thing about these things is that when you actually start to talk about them in public and that you're open and transparent about what you're trying to accomplish, it's not necessarily the vacancy that we want. We want to rebuild those properties and make them something useful, but we don't want dangerous structures in our city. And so as people talk about this, you'll see that since July 5th, when the city team began working on these demolitions, we've had 15 other additional voluntary demolitions. And I bet there's more to come. Oh gosh, such good news for just a month of work there. What's next? Well, it's back to the drawing table because it doesn't stop. There's still more structures. So this is the team that we do meet with as we sit down, and I come down every other week as I meet with you. And we're going to show you the next structures we have in line. So let's take a look at the next. This is 1414 Highway 35 North. It's also commonly known as the bipolar insulation property. This property is actually for sale. And the realtor, Mary Downing, and I have spoken on 3 different occasions. September 17th, October 1st, and even today. Mary Downing knows the property owner. The property owner has been contacted by the realtor to contact us on numerous occasions. He's not doing that. Mr. De Puma is about to get a little more intense concentration from us because he's not responding to our request to meet. And we'd like permission to proceed forward with that. Ms. Downing has said while she's really tried, she can't force the owner to do anything. The property remains for sale, and it still remains a substandard, dangerous structure that can easily be walked into by anybody on the street and collapsed upon to injure or harm somebody. So I think it's a property that we need to focus on yet a little more harshly. And if anybody knows the property owner, let him know we're really serious about what we're starting to say, and we really want to work with him. But if he's not going to come in, what do we do next? And that involves litigation. The next structure that you'll see is 1030 North Houston Street. 1030 North Houston Street is owned by a person who insists that she does not own it. Yet all the records we can possibly obtain through government record sources indicate that she owns it. So we're going to try a little harder with this sweet person to let him know you really do own it. She believes she doesn't own it, and that's why she hasn't done anything to it. And so perhaps if we can show to her what she does own it, we'll be able to get somewhere. We have a new structure that is coming online. Interestingly enough, the next 4 structures that are coming up for a meet and greet are all owned by people who reside in the city of Aransas Pass. This is a property known as 216 South 10th Street. In front of that shack is actually a really nice home, very nicely painted with a beautiful tree painted as well. But this is behind it. And so I think we're going to be relatively quick to be able to resolve that problem. Our next structure is 641 West Goodnight. This is the round that I tend to call the contortion round, because all these next couple of structures you're going to see are just contorted. It's like the inside structure is leaning in and the outside structure is leaning different. It's like you just took something and twisted and turned it. Does that make sense? Can you kind of tell from those arrows up there? Right, that's not going to stand for very long. It's going to fall down on somebody, and hopefully we'll get it down before it falls. The next structure is 206 South McCampbell. At first impression, you think it's okay, but it's really not. You'll see the red arrow, it's got the roof missing, but then if you look at the green arrow, that's where the part of the roof is at, it's on the ground. But then if you look at the blue arrow, you'll see the contortion starting. That building's actually going to fall on somebody as well. All of these have been reviewed by the building official, and he has determined that indeed it is a black structure. It's in bad shape. The interior is going to collapse. And while you see a truck in the front, the structure is actually vacant. Nobody lives there. And then the last structure we have on the meet and greet schedule is 357 South Saunders. It's difficult to see in the picture, but the entire roof is caved in. So 4 new structures going on our meet and greet list. We will let you know how that goes, probably with another progress report in about a month. Do I have any questions that I can answer for the council at this time?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Good progress.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go to the board and commission appointments. We're going to go to the Aransas Pass Crime Control and Prevention District.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'll take that one. Terms are expiring for Karen Mayer, Donald Brummett, and Naomi Freeze, and they're all seeking reappointment if you agree.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Karen Mayer, Donald Brummett, and Naomi Freeze.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Hello. For the Planning and Zoning, Kathleen Sweat and Elizabeth Doris's commissions have expired, but they're both seeking reappointment. And Myron Schrader is seeking to be appointed to fill the vacant position after Cynthia Vasquez's term expired and she did not wish to seek reappointment.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Sandy Kubik, Kathleen Switt, and Myron Schrader to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And Liz Doris, right?
And Liz Doris,
Yeah.
excuse me.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
And for that one, it is Sandy Kubik again and Captain Fred Comingore. Both terms have expired and both are seeking reappointment.
Well, I'll make a motion, we reappoint Sandy Kubik and Fred Comingore to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now we're gonna go to Gary.
Mr. Mayor and Council, a few items here. First item is need your approval to sign the EDA grant for $4,850,000. This is for improvements out at Con Brown Harbor, specifically designed and mandated by EDA, Economic Development Administration, for economic development purposes, hence the paving of the road out there, the bike trail, and we anticipate having enough funds to do the parking lot also. But before we can move forward with that, we've been approved for it, we need your approval for the city manager to sign the necessary documents.
Well, I'll make a motion we approve accepting the Economic Development Administration grant in the amount of $4,850,000.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, next item is consider an installation of a new street light at the intersection of Goodnight and Seamus Drive. We're presenting this to you because we think it's a good idea to present new street lights to the council, assuming you agree. The cost per month is about $95, I believe it is. So that can add up after a few years, and that's what we're responsible for, the electrical cost each month for that light, hence the reason to take it to you. So want to start this process of taking new street lights to you. And again, this one is at the intersection of Goodnight and Seamus Drive. It's being placed there because it's a dangerous intersection. A busy road there, cars pulling in and pulling out, and can be very dangerous for those cars. And it's unlit at this point. So received the recommendation from residents in that area. And consequently, it's being presented to you as an option for a street light at that particular location. It'll be installed, and then we would pay the monthly fee of approximately that amount, $95 per month, if you agree.
I make a motion that we approve the installation of a new street light at Goodnight and Seamus Drive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item, Mr. Mayor and Council, is, bear with me, that's the Women's Club of Aransas. Let me pull that up, I'm sorry. The Women's Club, thank you, Women's Club of Aransas Pass is making a recommendation. Stephanie, I understand you have some information on that. Thank you. Thank you.
The Women's Club of Aransas Pass would like to hold an event to kick off the Advocates for Children's Week. It begins on Sunday, October 21st, and so for the kickoff event, we would like to have games and invite the public and the community to come and celebrate advocating for children. And the purpose of the event is to bring the community together and to acknowledge how important education and the health of the children in this community is. It is sponsored by the General Federation of Women's Club, and it's something that other women's clubs do throughout the nation. It's something that we are just starting this year. So we're asking for a road closure from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Between 9th and 10th Streets on Goodnight, right in front of Miss Brown's daycare.
Okay.
Any questions?
I make a motion that we temporarily close Goodnight Street from 9th to 10th on October 21st from 2 to 4 p.m. for the
Second.
Women's Club.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now we're gonna go to community enrichment.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'll take that one. Let me pull up the memo here. This is awarding a proposal for the Aquatic Center, work at the Aquatic Center for repairs. And the cost for this is $98,000. And of the base price is $84,246, plus there's a $14,000 shutter allowance. The engineer is recommending that we go with a shutter allowance for a total of $98,246. And part of this project, this project is made up of a partial roof repairs, paint, floors, cabinets, resurfacing the floor, And it's important to point out that the bid is good for only 30 days. The bid opening was September 27th, so we have a certain period of time to act on this, but it needs your approval if you agree to move forward with the engineer's recommendation to go with Barcom Construction for the $98,246.
Any other council?
I make a motion that we accept the bid for the Aransas Pass Aquatic Center repairs to Barcom Construction for $98,246 plus, oh yeah, okay, that's it.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now we're gonna go to development services.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. What you have before you is us requesting permission to go out for bids for the sewer issues we're having on D-Berry between the alley between Houston and Commercial and McCampbell and Rife. There's about 900 feet of sewer line that is clay pipe that's failing. We do have the money allocated for it already. We just need permission from y'all so we can go out for bids and see what those numbers look like. Once we get the bids in and we review the information, we'll come back to council with recommendation.
I make a motion that we go out for requests for proposals for D-Berry sanitary sewer line replacement.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go to the monthly building department report.
Earl is not here tonight, so we're gonna have to go with the report that you should have in your packet. He's in training, the reason he's not here,
He's actually taking a test to get his recertification to
Thank
help
you.
get those buildings torn down and rebuilt. So it's a recertification test, and we're really happy he's in Colorado doing that. So can we please excuse him for tonight? He'll be back in a couple of days, though, trust me. He'll be back.
Hopefully he didn't get snowed in, right?
It's 17 degrees there, by the way.
That's good.
Yeah, he can have it.
Okay. Anybody any questions on it? Okay, we're gonna go to Ms. Sandra.
Good evening. We're gonna do the financials for the last quarter of the fiscal year. And, I'm sorry, I'm not on that page. Overall, we did pretty good fiscal year. You know, all things considered, the Aquatic Center did have a deficit of $135,000. The Civic Center had a deficit of $201,000. And as I've mentioned before, the water department, the loss of customers and revenue there, we are probably more than likely gonna also end up with a deficit of about $200,000 in that department. Overall, everything, you know, all things considered, everybody's did pretty well. We understood that we were not gonna be doing as good in the Civic Center and the water department and the aquatics because of the hurricane and the event that we had. If we turn to the next page, we have budgeted revenues over actual revenues for the month. Unfortunately, we didn't hit a lot of our targets at that time. This last month in September, none of the departments actually hit what they were supposed to have hit for the actual revenues. But if we go to the next page under the expenditures versus budgeted versus actual, the expenditures were a lot less, which would make up some of that difference of not hitting those benchmarks with the revenue. Then we're gonna go to the property tax collected overall year to date. We collected $117,634 more for the entire year versus last year. And then sales tax, which is my favorite one, we collected $533,706 more. So I did not include a slide on this, but I am gonna give a little blurb on where we are financially with the projects. We've expended about roughly about $7.5 million, in our projects. That includes debris, that includes the Civic Center, the Aquatic Center. Of that 7.5 million, we've had to use roughly about $500,000 of our own money to get a lot of those projects moving. We've used obviously our insurance money until we ran out of that. Obviously FEMA's reimbursing us, but not at the rate or the pace that we would like to see that money coming back into our city coffers. So, but obviously the sales tax has helped us a great deal. The department directors having their expenditures decrease have tremendously helped us as well to get all these projects started. But we are moving forward with them. But we have, we've had, year to date for this fiscal year, we've expended about $7.5 million on projects alone. So that's my report. Do you all have any questions? I'm gonna stay up here because I have another one. Is there still? Okay, my fourth quarter investment report. Unfortunately, we did not hit our benchmark. Our benchmark for the 3-month treasury bill is 2.7% rate of return on investment. We had a return on investment of 1.80%. We had our money, we had 8% of our money at Prosperity Bank. 36% of that money was at tax pool and 56% was at Texas Class, which is another pool like tax pool. Overall, for the quarter, we had interest payments from all banking sources of $31,129. Prosperity has sufficient collateral for our money that's in the bank. We require 102% collateral, and they have roughly hundreds of times more than that. So we are very collateralized there. Do you all have any questions for me on our investments? And the reason why we haven't met our benchmark, and I know I say this every quarter, is we need to be very liquid. We don't have the luxury right now of being able to invest in something more long-term like a CD or some other kind of instrument that would pay us a higher return on our investment, just for the fact that we need to have access to that money very readily. We can't tie it up for years, like a year or 6 months, because we don't know what expenses because of all the projects that we have moving forwards. But I do hope that as we're progressing in time, we're able to invest in other instruments other than just Texas Class or just having the money in the bank that would, give us a greater return on our investment. And that is for the future planning. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Now we're gonna go to public safety, to Mr. Eric.
Mayor and Council, this first item on the agenda is actually a budgeted item for 2 unmarked police vehicles. I think we budgeted for a total of 5 police vehicles this year out of the Federal Drug Seizure Fund. Again, that's a way of helping reduce the impact on the general fund. So we'd like to move forward on the purchase of 2 unmarked police vehicles. One will be a truck, which actually I'll take and hand my truck down as I do because I drive them a lot nicer and get more longevity out of them than some of my troops do, using them for regular police business. And then the other one will be for a car, a Charger, and that will go to one of the detectives. So that's what this item is. We still have a blanket bid that's still valid for Alan Samuels, and that's where we're going to purchase these vehicles from.
Well, make a motion that, that we allow the purchase of 2 unmarked police vehicles out of the drug seizure funds.
Not to exceed, I think,
90,000.
90,000.
90,000, not to exceed 90,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just so you understand too, that 90,000 includes all the outfitting necessary for those vehicles. The next item that I have for you is an MOU between the City of Aransas Pass and the Aransas Pass ISD. And basically this is just a formality to cover the school resource officer position that's been in place. I've been working directly with the school board through the president and the superintendent to hash out the terms of this MOU. I'm very familiar with it, and like I said, it's just a formality to cover that position.
a motion, we approve the MOU between the City of Aransas Pass Police Department and the Aransas Pass ISD.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. The last item I have for you is just the monthly report, and I'll speak to some of the stuff here on the top. You know, our detectives have been busy still with thefts. That seems to always keep us busy. I'm not saying that there's an increase in thefts. I think actually some of the numbers we're looking at are still showing a decline, but thefts are probably the number one crime that most of our residents are familiar with. And so they're staying busy with that. We need to remind our public not to put valuables or leave them in their cars, especially and during our National Night Out, which will be on the next deal. But we actually gave away several OWL car cameras because of contributions and stuff to our residents. In fact, I will tell you, one of the winners of the OWL car camera had his vehicle burglarized the following weekend. He still had not put his OWL car camera in. We might have had it on video. You know, of course, we brought Jack McCarty before you for saving the baby's life. Dispatch has been staying busy with Facebook communications. I will tell you that Facebook has been one of the most popular ways our community communicates crimes with us or requests services from the police. It's almost like they're using Facebook instead of 911, which we don't advocate. But, you know, it's a very popular means of communication. Of course, David Wood is my new assistant police chief, and now David Muniz, who was a patrol sergeant, is now my patrol commander running patrol. And I think both of them are going to be great additions in their new roles. Emergency management has been steady, as you well know, with 30-plus inches of rain that the city encumbered this past month. That kept emergency management busy. Training was also a hugely busy month. We provided probably over 700 hours of training to staff and even including some outsiders, and taught over 100 students together with all the training that we put on. Anyways, this entire report will be published online, as well as the survey that my commanders do with the public. And I think we received all 10s this time around, and there's that feedback from the public that you can read yourself as you see this report. And this report will be online within about 30 minutes. And I'll leave it. Fire department's next with Nathan. But to kick it off, I know that, go ahead, Nathan, stand up there. He would want me to talk about us taking home the gold and the prize trophy at this last weekend's Bacon Fest. And with that, I'll turn it over to Nathan.
We felt sorry for him because they never win anything. So
y'all let him win.
Give him one. You know.
And he's sporting the new police academy attire because he's finally learned that policing is where it's at.
No, well, I just wanted. I was little. I needed a little challenge, so I went to the police academy. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't really, but I'm there. No, I got 2 more months. 2 more months to go. Hopefully, I pass it and I'll come back.
Okay.
So Chief Kelly's also in training, so he got me tonight.
Cool.
So lucky you guys. Right? Fire Prevention Week was pretty good. We taught about 750 kids about fire safety. So that was pretty good. The guys went over to the schools and the kids came over to the fire station. So that was really good. They enjoyed that. We had open house. I think the first time this year we had open house. We had about 100 people show up. We gave about 50 smoke alarms that people didn't have any smoke alarms in their homes. So we gave about 50 of those. We also did some training on fire extinguishers. You know, some people don't know how to use those, so we did some training on that, and that was pretty good. So hopefully we'll do this open house thing every October for Fire Prevention Week. So that's something that's good. Next thing is the stats. We had for September 59 calls. 55% of that was EMS calls. Fires were about 8%. Hazardous conditions, we had about 8. Good intent calls were about another 8%. Good intent, it's like people locking their kids in a car or some stuff like that. You know, it happens a lot. Service calls, gas leaks, power lines down, stuff like that. So, and then of course we have false alarms. You know, that's about 13%. The next page kind of breaks it down to what type of calls we have. You know, if we look at, you know, 311, 24 medical calls for that month of September. And it just kind of, you just want to read down, and it just kind of breaks it down a little further to what we have for that month. And the next thing, it's the training on, kind of breaks it down for each firefighter and their disciplines. They got to do certain of training hours for their disciplines that they have. So kind of breaks it down to what each guy needs. And if on the next page, you could see that we started doing CPR instructors. So we're going to start holding CPR classes for the public. So that'll be a good thing. We got a few instructors now, so it should be a good program that we're going to be starting. Total hours were just, let me see, 77 hours for September. Next page is the commission. Every 2 years we have the Texas Commission on Fire Protection. They go to the station, they give us a surprise inspection. They come down, they just kind of ask, I need this record, that record, I need to see this, see that, and they inspect it. And we had a let me see here. They wanted us to put what kind of equipment we have in our SOPs, what kind we use, who cleans it, you know, how many times we clean it. They wanted that in our SOGs or SOPs. So that wasn't in there, so they kind of hit us on that. Chief Kelly got everything together, sent it over to the state. They read it and approved it, and now we're in compliance. And this is what these letters are saying, that we're in compliance now with that. So, and that's about it. I mean, any questions with any of this?
Are y'all gonna have the Halloween thing?
The haunted house?
Trunk or treat.
Or the haunted, what are we talking about? The haunted house? We want to do it, we just don't have a place. We need a place to do it. I mean, that was a big hit every October. It was really big, but it's just hard to find a place to do it, in a safe place. And, you know, we haven't budgeted for that, for props, and it takes a little work to get that going, but that's something we probably need to look at doing again, because it was a real big hit for the community. So, but if there's no questions, that'll be it.
Just, I have one comment, though, about the EMS. You see the influx of EMS medical calls. That was something we started a while back. Nathan Kelly, working with Steve Knight, Director of EMS, they expanded some of the calls that they are covering now to the most serious of life-threatening, but we've opened that up a little bit more to expand it out. And I will tell you, the fire department often will be the first ones on scene. That's typical, no matter where you look at, where they have this double response protocol. But just this past weekend, my understanding is they saved the guy's life. The guy was ODing on dope, but they were able to respond immediately and pull him off of that overdose situation. And I think we're going to see a lot more lives saved having our firefighters providing those first responses. And Steve Knight loves the close partnership now that we have going. It's been a great thing. So we thank you all for allowing us to venture down that road, which you did a few years back.
Any questions? No? Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to Mr. Fernando.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, as you know, we are under a boil order right now, and we wanted to report to you on details relating to that, how we ended up with a boil order and our communication methods. And Fernando's been doing a great job as far as staying on top of that, so I'm going to ask him to come forward and give us a full report on the boil order that we're under for another couple days or so.
Good evening. I get to bring all the headaches to y'all. This week it's a water boil notice, as y'all know. Last Monday, well, start from the beginning. Since we don't have a water tower right now, we have to supply water through our system with our 2 storage tanks, and we use pumps to maintain our pressure. On Monday, we had a power outage around town, and it actually hit both of our stations. Usually one goes down, the other one keeps up and maintains pressure. We dropped 1 PSI below what's required by the state. We ran samples immediately, everything came out clean, we were good. Got a call this Friday right after 5 o'clock by TCQ saying that we're required to do a water boil notice regardless. So that's why the water boil notice came out. It came out a couple of days late because staff was under the impression since everything came out clean, it was minimal, we were good, but they made us do it anyways. So what we did immediately, I contacted Gary, we communicated on what we were going to do, prepared the letter. We contacted PD, pushed it out on Facebook, we did a reverse 911. We contacted News Channel 6. They ran it at 6:30 as a news flash, and then they did at 10 o'clock on their news channel. We also posted on our website. We posted some questions and answers that are commonly asked. Can we take baths with our water? Can we use it for cooking? Those simple questions that are always coming in. We went and created those questions, list, and answers, and put it on our Facebook and on our city website. Right now, TZQ is making us flush 150 locations citywide just to make sure we flush the entire system out. Staff has been working on that all day today. They're a little over halfway done. We should finish it tomorrow. After that, they're going to come in and check their own pressure gauges that they already set at our stations. If they see everything's good, they'll allow us to do the back T samples. They're asking to do 20 citywide as well. So we already identified the locations we're doing them. We take those samples tomorrow if all goes well, send them to the lab, and by Wednesday, all should come clear and we should be able to lift the water boil notice. But at this time, it was really a precaution just to avoid any issues. It's state mandated that any time we drop below 20 PSI, they're making us do a water boil notice. And it's very hard. We've been very fortunate that we've gone a whole year since we lost our water tower that we've been able to maintain with our power pumps. It was unfortunate that for under 30 minutes that we lost power. We don't know how bad it was throughout the city. We got some calls that some residents that they have pressure the whole time. We got some that they lost pressure. So it's very hard to determine where the areas were affected. And we knew we could just narrow it down to those sections, but since we didn't, TCQ required us to do the citywide water boil. So that's where we're at right now. We have been working with TCQ. I've been on the phone with them 3 or 4 times today. Tomorrow they'll be here in town, and once we finish our flushing, they'll check the gauges. If they give us the green light to proceed, we'll do the back T samples and send them out to the lab, and if all goes well, by Wednesday we should be able to lift it. So that's where we're at now. We'll keep updating. Tomorrow, once we get the flushing done, we'll give an update on our Facebook pages and our city website. Just we'll keep updating there until we lift the notice. I have been working with the school district as well, make sure that they're okay with their cooking and so forth, so they have a game plan. I know they notified their parents as well, and we're working close with them so that we keep our kids safe and make sure that everybody's following the protocol. Any questions?
I had a question. Someone asked me, do our generators, do we have a backup generators if the pumps go down, electricity
We
goes
don't,
out?
and that's one thing we've been working right now with FEMA, trying to get generators for our system. This hopefully push them harder, because TCQ even called our finance director today and has been making phone calls themselves, wondering why FEMA hasn't moved on that. So I'm hoping with them pushing, that'll help us get these generators going. So, because we do need them for situations like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Also want to point out, we want to emphasize to FEMA and the state, they're reviewing the elevated tower right now. The state is, and then after the state does it, the plans, all the plans and specs, they're all done. It's now in the review stage by the state and FEMA. The state is reviewing now, and FEMA will review after they review, and they've assured us in a meeting we had here in City Hall last week that FEMA will move very, very rapidly on approving the plans and specs so we can get the elevated tower replaced and rebuilt. And this emphasizes the importance to the state and to FEMA of expediting the review of this of the elevated tower.
Also wanted to make clear that this water boil was because of the water pumps failing. The power outage is not because there's any contaminants in the water. It's just because we lost power. It drop their pressure, and it was a requirement that we did it. It's not that there's anything in our system, it's just a requirement because we lost power.
Okay. Now we go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for matters that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policy, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
My name is Carol Salinas. I live at South 11th Street in Aransas Pass. I have a couple things. Are you going to have a presentation tonight on the apartments, which was on the agenda?
Let me answer that. We were, however, the developer, his plane flight was canceled here, so we can't have it tonight. He's very frustrated. We were in contact with him on this.
Okay, well, I just was wondering, I know other people. And I have seen real good updates on the water boil by the police department, and I have looked at the city's Facebook page, and I actually have not seen updates there. Everything has been relayed that I have seen through the police department. Just a comment. And then I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. If I miss a meeting and I go to live stream, if you guys are not speaking into the microphone or speaking up, you are not recorded on live stream. And if I have a little trouble hearing you when I'm sitting in the room, it's not recording on live stream. And I've said that before, and I'm going to say it again. Please, everybody, do we need to have microphone lessons, because it's very difficult to hear. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Now we're going to go to executive session. Section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with its attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to Natalia Lamas versus City of Aransas Pass, ETAL, cause number S-16-5735-CV-C in the 343rd Judicial District Court of San Patricio County, Texas. Johnny Lee Davis versus City of Aransas Pass, ETAL, cause number 13-17-00455-CV in the 13th District Court of Appeals. City of Aransas Pass versus J.M. Davidson, LTD, RLI Insurance Company, and Naismith Engineers, cause number S-14-6278-CV-C in the 343rd Judicial District Court in San Patricio County, Texas. City Industrial District Agreement. And Section 551.087 for deliberations regarding economic development negotiation and pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the city council under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to letter of intent to Turno Properties, LLC. And we will be back.
Mayor, there's one additional executive session, and that's number 5, city webpage, subject pursuant to section 551.071.
Oh,
It's at the top of the next page.
sorry.
That's okay. All right, and the time is
I missed it.
6:50.
She got it.
We will be back. Ready? We're gonna reconvene open session at, good Lord, at 8:43.
Oh, my turn?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I make a motion approving Phase 2 letter of intent with Torno Properties directing the city attorney and city manager to continue negotiations for the Glades of Aransas Pass Apartments project.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I'll stick around a while. Okay, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bye.